Spacewolves have that nice blend of Nordic and Space Marine traits that make them look great, and the legionary figures from the Horus Heresy setting have that dark grey color that makes them even more menacing and warrior-like in my opinion. And today we look at the Praetors that were released a while ago, but since they are so cool, better late than never. These are conventional boxes, there is nothing special about them, and they're of comparable size, so let's just open them. Hvarl the Red on the right side is fit with the tartaros pattern terminator armour, while the unnamed Praetor on the left is sporting a very customized Mark IV. Hvarl has no helmeted option and a big gun and a big axe, while the unnamed Praetor, while being slightly smaller than the Terminator, is not a small person in any way. But we will see that in the comparison section. In the meanwhile, in terms of accessories, I will say that the unnamed Praetor wins, and so we will start looking at him first. And he looks a proper space marine from Ferris, with his decorated armor, and even more, his handsome bald head with a powerful blonde beard. Of course, this awesome look comes at the expense of the head articulations, but it is not that bad in the end, even if looking upward with that sculpt is a bit off. The right shoulder suffers of the same issue, awesome look but no full rotation, but who needs those in the end? Left pauldron can move freely, but as you may have noticed, he uses the old pauldron design with a plastic strip, therefore no lateral raise. Legs can move backward and bend nicely with double jointed knee, with the foot a bit impeded by the armor sculpt. And the sculpt in general is awesome, with these many overlapping plates, gold rims, painted rivets and chains. And of course with the protective armor tabard, which included a powerful wolf pelt, which is made in soft plastic to reduce the articulations issues. On the back we have the classic backpack with a red cape and again wolf pelt overcoat. Overall an awesome bulky look for a warrior of Fenris. And the helmet option is great too. Spacewolves from Horus Heresy enjoy some of the best health sculpts, and this Praetor is not an exception. In addition, he has the banner on top of the backpack, which is one of the coolest accessories I want for my heroes of the shelves. Our Praetor is armed with a huge power axe, with, surprise, a highly decorated design to keep it in line with the overall Spacewolves look. Then he also armed with a bolt pistol, because why not? It looks quite small compared to the axe, to be honest. And finally, the most iconic Spacewolf piece of equipment in my opinion, a round shield with golden rim and triple red wolf heads. Or are these dragons? Not sure, but they look cool. And now we look at the biggest boy, Hvarl the Red, in his magnificent Terminator armor. The head is a bit too shiny for my tastes, to be honest, but the rest of the armor is properly bulky, painted and decorated. You have wolf pelts and armor pieces decorated as wolf heads, for example, with many additional trinkets and spikes all around the place. He has a cape that looks quite battle-worn, fitting the general look of this indomitable warrior. It is attached to the top of the back, but it still extends to the pauldrons, which may limit their movement. Besides this, there is not much else to see. It is a Tartaros power armor in Spacewolves flavor. Articulations are in line with other Tartaros Terminators we have seen in the past, with the only problem being the cape with my limited shoulder rotations at unnatural angles. It is not a big deal for normal poses, and the level of lateral raise is excellent. Same for the legs, the Tartaros design is one of the most flexible in terms of articulations, and not even Spacewolves trinkets can create problems. You have a great leg spread, as well as bending backward is easy, or even Spartan kicking around like a real boss is possible. Sounds strange to say, but Terminator armor is these days the most agile we have. All in all, a chunky warrior with an awesome look and great posing options. He comes with a heavy bolter covered in Spacewolves runes, fed by an ammo belt. The ammo belt itself is removable, not sure why. but since I would have preferred to have an ammo box, this could become handy for future changes. He is also armed with a battle damage power axe with this nice golden wolf head. Fun fact, Hvarl axe is smaller than the Mark IV Praetors. This is noticeable if we compare them side to side. They have both a great look, but maybe I will give Hvarl the biggest one. And talking about the difference in size, hands are also noticeably different. The Praetor will have some fun shaking hands on the battlefield. Time to get them on a rotating stand so that we can look at them in all of their magnificent panoply. The grey and gold look of the spacewolves from Horus Heresy is one of my favorite color schemes. I would have loved 40k spacewolves to have kept it, instead of that weak light blue they use today. In addition, the armor decorations are great, with a clean paint job and a lot of additional details that make up for the lack of shading and dry brushing. The Praetor on the left with his heads is my personal favorite because of his design and options. You have both bare head and helmet options, and you have different melee and ranged loadout options. Hvarl is noticeably bigger, but this does not stop him from being the best articulated in the group, thanks to his ball-mounted pauldrons. The unnamed Praetor instead is still using the old plastic strips that in some way restrict his posing options. In terms of look, they are both awesome, with the only problem being Hvarl's shiny head. Because of this, I decided to swap his head with one of the grey hunters we saw in Gigor's review. I'm not sure about the hair braid, but I think that this new head fits him perfectly. Maybe in the future I may just cut it off. Let's do some comparisons. They are both bulky and tall figures, but Hvarl wins the context on this front. The Vargir cataphracti look of comparable size, and together they look great. The Blood Angel's Praetor in Tartaros armor is a good comparison for looking at different styles of the same base power armor. There is something for every taste. The Son of Horus with the lightning claws is also of similar size, but he has a clearly less adorned look, and the Crimson Paladin without cannon is a tiny bit shorter, but not that much. When I say that the Mark IV Praetor is massive, I mean it. The Deathsworn look tiny compared to him, and the same is true for the Great Hunters. Such tiny cute kids with fangs. Gygor gives the Praetor a better challenge. No idea how they can move around with all that stuff dangling around, but they look awesome, and this is what is important for us. As armor cord, let's bring in some older 40k figures like Arjak the Mountain. Not that big anymore, And the same happens for Ragnar, which still is, in my opinion, one of the best looking 40k figures around, but not that big today. Well, it is now time to wrap the review up. The Spacewolves Praetors are some of the coolest figures you can get for your Horus Heresy lineup collection. They are great looking and they include several loadout options for all locations. The Mark IV Praetor is of hero scale, so he looks quite larger compared to normal grunts. Hvarl and his Terminator armor instead are giant looking, but this was not going to be a surprise, I'm sure. The paint job is well done, and the abundance of details makes up for the lack of shading and dry brushing for the armor, which is much less evident or needed. The only thing that I do not like is Hvarl's head, which is too shiny for my tastes. I initially gave him a coat of matte protecting coat to reduce the shininess, but in the end I preferred one of those beautiful grey hunter's heads I had around. In the end, if you are a Space Wolves fan, these are great pieces to have, but even if you look for HQ units, having at least one of them will look great in your shelves. Having said that, I wish you a nice rest of the day trying to optimize space in your shelves for another army of space marine Praetors.